All right, this video is the revolve for the axle. We're going to make a simplified version of this axle. And really for this is a section view, so it's as if this thing's been cut in half. And in the end, we're going to add this little cut for this, for the axle here too. But we're only going to draw half of this because it's a revolve. So I'm going to actually just start out by starting with the origin here on a 2D sketch, drawing the basic profile. I'll add in a couple of dimensions as I go just to make sure I get the proper scale, and then I'll go back and add in all of the dimensions we need for this to work. So I'm going to start my 2D sketch. I like to go with the XY plane for the front there. My line tool, again, I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up a certain distance. These are all diameters, but we're drawing half of it, so we need to be dealing with a radius dimension. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up, and this value is going to be 0.19 divided by 2. Hit enter. And that gives me that height right there. And now I'm just going to draw the basic profile. I'm going to try and make sure that everything's perpendicular when needed to be, or horizontal and vertical. And then I'm not going to worry about the size right away. So I'm just going to kind of draw the basic profile. Coming out over here, the little nub at the very end. And on this angle, I am going to intentionally go taller for this part. It makes it a lot easier to work with. Another thing actually, as I'm looking at this, that we can do, notice that it's referencing that point as I come across. So if I do that and I come right in line, notice I'm in line with this piece here too. But if I reference that point and come right in line, it's inferring a connection there. I'm going to draw this little nub and come back this way now. So I'm going to go straight up. Notice it wants to go angled. I don't want to go angled, but it's okay to go angled right now. I'm just going to go up a little bit. Now it's straight. I didn't do anything there. It just inferred that I wanted to be perpendicular. And come down. Now this distance here is the same as well. Notice, or it's not exactly the same, excuse me here. We got a radius of 0.29, so I'm intentionally going to go past that point and later add in the dimension that I need to add. I'll zoom out a bit, drag over. I do want to go straight. Notice right now that that line is not straight, so I'm going to come up to constrain, horizontal, and make sure that that line is straight. And I'll just finish up the profile here. I'm not really trying to infer anything. I just want to get a basic shape. This indentation comes in a little bit farther than here, so I'm going to come past this line and down and close it up. Now I know that this looks ridiculous right now. That's okay. That's intentional. We're going to use dimensions to clean it up. A couple things that are going to help us out. I'm going to add in an overall dimension of 0.88 from this edge to this edge. So with my dimension tool, dimension, other dimension, this is going to be 0.88. So that extends it out a little farther. And I'm going to get my overall dimension from this edge to the area for revolve. So this extension line is at 0.40, so half of that is 0.2. So from this line to this line is 0.2. Okay, so earlier I went up 0.9095. This line needs to be 0.19. So I need to get the horizontal distance there, 0.19. This line here, though it looks angled, it actually is not, is 0.25. So come down, click, 0.25. Finally, and this little section here, this little nub is 0.05, so I'm going to click that, bring it over, and make it 0.05. I also need to get the diameters of these distances taken care of for this line and that line. So to lock that in, I'm going to come here to my edge, bring it to the side. I'll clean up my dimensions here in a moment. So this line right there is at 0.25. That's going to be 0.25 divided by 2. Shifts it down a little bit. I don't like where I have that 0.20 right now, so I'm going to hit escape a couple times and move that out to clean it up a little bit, make it easier to see, and then come back to my dimension. I've got this line for the nub and this line right here for the revolve, and that is going to be half of 0.30. So in that case, I have half of 0.30 is 0.15, or you can type it in as 0.3 divided by 2. Either way is fine. It shifts it down. Now things look a little skewampus now. That's okay. Take a look at what I'm going to do here. Notice that these are all green. That means I can move them left, right. I can move these up, down. In fact, this line right here is collinear, or the same dimension, okay, 0.19 and 0.19. So I'm going to add a collinear constraint between this line and this line. It's going to help shift things down. If things are green, that means you can move them some way or another. Do that, and it makes it a lot easier to work with. Now I'm going to take a look. I'm going to come back here. This little line right here is the same one as this. It's actually 0.01, so this is coming down much too far. 0.01. That's going to shift that up a little bit. This side is now locked into place because I had referenced this dot with that edge and here. So those are constraints that were created during the sketch. My dimension here is going to be 0.07. My dimension on this little tab out here is 0.05. This dimension in terms of diameter, taking a look, is 0.25. Notice I had a 0.25, which is this line earlier. We can use a collinear constraint for that as well. So I'm going to click this line and this line. And finally, what I need is the distance of this line. Notice I can move this back and forth still. That distance is 0.33. I grabbed the long line there. This line, excuse me, is 0.33. And I'm locked into place. I'm fully constrained, ready to go. At that point, I'm going to finish the sketch, create a revolve with this profile, and the axis for this revolve is this line right here. Let it generate, hit OK, and there is the profile for the revolve. Now we've got to make the cut. There's a couple ways to do this. I'm just going to go to this face over here. The cut's going to be a rectangle that is 0.04 wide, and my cut's going to be 0.2 deep. So I find the easiest way to do this, simply click this face, create a new sketch so that we see it there. I like to use a 2-point rectangle in the rectangle tool here and put it right there on the origin. And I really just extend it out past. I want my width to be 0.04, and my height doesn't really matter. I just need it to be longer than that face, so in this case 0.437 will work just fine. You don't really have to add a dimension for this part if you don't want. It doesn't need to be fully defined. You just need to be extending past that lip. We're going to finish the sketch and extrude the cut. Choose a cut, and that is to a depth of 0.2 inches, and hit OK. And your axle simplified version is done. Get it saved and get it submitted.